Thank you. Can you guys hear me? Yeah, it's okay. I kind of like to walk around. I'm not going to hide behind the podium. So first, I'd like to thank Helen and the organizing committee. I think I'm one of them. So for inviting me to this talk. And I really think that this kind of workshop is fantastic in terms of promoting and encouraging people to think about e-learning and big data together. So my talk today is Big Education on KEEP. And I'd like to just first present to you the state of our education right now. If you are the teacher right here, can you see that? This is a teacher. And these are the students right here. And this is in Chinese, so I'm going to just do the English one. It says our education system. Everybody is a genius, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, he will live his whole life believing that it is stupid. Okay, and I believe that the new wave of big education will abolish this. Okay, we're going to do personalized learning path. We can do a lot more. But anyway, this will serve as a good point to start. The words of wisdom, and I know there's a lot of educators here, so I hope that I'm not going to offend anybody, but I think that good university focus on counting the number of publications, right? And then better university focus on citation number impact factors. So what do you think the best university will focus on? Education. Yes, that's right. So that's why we're here. Okay, so I've been asked, right? So my title is Big Education on KEEP. So the question is, what is big education? So I'm going to give you a very simple explanation. Big education is a man meets a woman, or a boy meets a girl, right? And this guy is Mr. Big Data, and then she is a Miss Education. So you put these two together, I call it the big education, okay? So, and you may know this too. We're bombarded every day by all sorts of information and data. And this is what we call it big data, right? Our life is big life and on big data. Now, you're very familiar with this slides next, okay? I don't need to describe this. You guys all know the 4V for big data. But did you know that there's also 4 V's for education as well? Big education as well? Let me explain to you, right? First of all, the volume, okay? Nowadays, we have so many types of teaching stuff. For example, we have Coursera, edX, Udacity, and Khan's Academy. The available of teaching material online, okay, is overwhelming. That's volume right there, okay? Secondly, velocity. I think that we all really fall into this. This is how do we actually face the change, the rapid change, the pace of change that happens in education, right? The technologies that we use, the pedagogical approaches that we adopt, and all that stuff, okay? So this is really the velocity at which things are changing in education, in big education. That's velocity. The third one is variety. What is variety? Well, there are actually many different ways that we acquire our knowledge these days. We don't do it in the classroom, but we could do it online. We could do it on our phone. And eventually, I'm going to show you something, maybe it's on our watch. We could actually learn something. So this is the variety of sources that we could get or obtain education and maybe even do teaching on, okay? So what do you think the veracity would be? What is veracity? Veracity is the uncertainty inside our data. And what would that be in big education? Now, in here, I'd like to show this because I'm actually the creator of Very Guide. Because because of internet, right? People actually make copies, could copy materials on the internet very easily. That makes your education kind of uncertain. How did you know that actually you did the work in big education? What could it be someone else, right? So I show this Very Guide right here because we have created this system, plagiarism detection system, to ensure that we uphold academic quality and academic honesty. And that's what I call the veracity in big education. So how do we actually find the truth about our education? So these are the 4 things. And my favorite thing is that out of all this, right? There is a value issue, right? We have all these things. We have all these new MOOC courses. We have all these ways to learn on a mobile phone. But really, is there value in all these things that we do? And I believe that it is. There is the value that we have. Okay, so, and I want to also extend this too. This is really a education timeline. And most of the stuff that I'll be talking about perhaps is focused on here. But I like to remove that myopic vision, and I like to suggest that big education is really about lifelong learning. Okay, big education is not only applicable to the university, but also applicable to professional certificates, lifelong learning, and all the way extend out to even kindergarten. How do we actually track their performance? How do we encourage them learning, creativity, and so on and so forth? And I think that's really important. Okay, so teachers, this is a slide I like to show because that looks like me, okay? Because for me, in the world of big data or big education, it seems like I need to learn all sorts of skills, new technologies, and new ways to do teaching and learning and all that. Although I'm a teacher, but at the same time, I'm also a learner, right? So I feel like I'm this person right here. I need at least 4 arms to do all the tasks that I have. So the question is, shall we actually all become Superman and Superwoman and super kids, okay? I think not. I think really the task of our modern educator is not to cut down jungles, but to irrigate deserts. And that's what the purpose of me being here. I hope this is fun, right? Is this fun? Yes, okay, I hope so. Okay, so I'm gonna just give you a few things about trends in big education before I go into KEEP. Okay, so there's a couple of things I've been observing in the last few years, and I think it's worth taking them out and kind of examine that. And first, I'd like to actually show you the online learning landscape, okay? Because that is about big education. And you can see that online open universities, MOOC sites, platforms, search reviews. This is really all the companies. So now we have really an ecosystem now. We have a huge ecosystem that and has a really nice landscape and on various aspect of e-learning and on big education. But I'm going to show you the next couple of things. I'm going to use these 3 things criteria: collaboration, cost effectiveness, and customization as a characteristic of the things that I'm going to share with you. Okay, so collaboration, cost effectiveness, and customization. The first thing I think that the trend in big education is that multimodal learning. So students, in fact, acquire knowledge from different sources now. It is not good enough to just put your things on your website, but you might have to saturate it on YouTube, on Coursera, on different things. Here is an example. Harvard has presence on their website, on YouTube, on Class Central, on edX, on iTunes, and so on and so forth. So they saturate the whole social media scenes and all the potential channels because people, in fact, acquire knowledge differently, and we don't want to just have one way and one way of doing things. We want to be able to actually have multiple ways for them to obtain knowledge. So this is one trend that we've been seeing. Another thing I've seen in the last really a few years is this. We, as an educator, we start with a course. We have pull material together. We create a course. And then we make that course online. We put that thing electronically. We put it on our website, on our Dropbox or whatever. We make that online. Then we made that open to the university and maybe other departments and so on and so forth. And the last frontier really is to make that massive open online course. And what does that say? The acronym is for MOOC, right? So yes, MOOC is one of the things that is a trend that we're seeing. Next, I want to say something about this. In fact, I'm a proponent to this thing because it's a small private course with degree, because this is what university will exist for, is the face-to-face interaction. is the time that you can spend with your teacher and with the student. That really matters. MOOC is a little bit, how should I say, impersonal, right? It could be, because the engagement and the interaction is not there. But there are successful cases, for example, small private online courses with degree. AT&T joined with Georgia Tech and Udacity, for example, will offer tailor-made professional courses, okay? And they could get degrees from this. And I think that is the trend, coming trend in the future. Okay, another thing, I don't need to talk too much, is like preaching to the choir, is a flipped classroom. But more and more people are doing this. We're having better technology and better pedagogy on how do you flip a classroom? How do you make the classroom, flipped classroom, interesting, and so on and so forth. So this is another trend in e-learning. So this is the flipped classroom. Another thing is we are also doing, in fact, in Chinese U, is to convert a lot of material that we have into micro modules. Okay, so what we're trying to do is to break down a big concept into smaller pieces, right? Each video could be 5 to 10 minutes long, and with, actually, I'm going to show you what our implementation of this micro-learning looks like with links and so on and so forth. This will facilitate learning, because we found out, younger generation, they have the attention span of a gnat, right? So that's like a fraction of a second. So 5 minutes to 6 minute video is probably the most optimum thing that they could actually do. So, but on the other hand, the micro module can also facilitate personalized learning path, because once you have broken the component down, you could actually create different paths for different people, depending on the person's preference and the person's needs, and so on and so forth. So that's actually very, very important. Next thing, so that is related to what I would talk about. The micro moduling is really also is related to the personalized learning right here. So in here, what you could do, one could do, is to create their learning path. Okay, so this is quite important, but we need that micro module first before we could actually do this well. Okay, so another thing that we also found out is this, right? The outcome, the performance actually increased when you could do activity inside the classroom. And this is the reason give rise to also flipped classroom. So you do the homework inside the class. You do activities. So active learning is one of the things that we will highly recommend. Now, it's good for engineers, because like you teach a programming class, you don't just talk about programming, you actually do programming inside class. I teach data structure. We want to do algorithms, so we want to do the algorithm right there and then. You get immediate feedback. You know whether it's right, what is wrong, and so on and so forth. So active learning is also another aspect. Lastly, but not least, is something that that cannot be done perhaps before, but now we could do this on a large scale. Is peer learning, right? We had classes here that connected to a massive amount of international students. So when we had Occupy Central, for example, I mean, people were asking, how do you guys feel? What is the situation there? So other people from other parts of the world will be able to learn something that they were not able to do before. So peer learning and peer assessment and so on and so forth is also a very, very important component in this big education thing, okay? So, and how much time do I have? 10 minutes, perhaps? Okay, so with that in mind, I'd like to just use the next few minutes to share with you KEEP, okay? KEEP it stands for Knowledge and Education Exchange Platform. And what it is simply, it's a multi-year cross-institutional project with all the institutions in Hong Kong. So we really say that this KEEP project represents all Hong Kong's institutions, okay? KEEP is basically a big data learning analytic platform that will allow teachers and students to experiment with different type of blended learning. We also serve as a creative online learning gateway for educators. And we encourage and promote flexible and active learning on the KEEP platform. KEEP is a knowledge aggregator, I'm going to show you why, and a technology integrator. So with that in mind, I want to share your vision. We, CUHK, would like to empower people by providing and promoting the best education resources in order to facilitate collaboration and innovation for teaching and learning through knowledge aggregation and technology integration. I know that's pretty long, right? I made that up. I did. It's a long, but I think that you describe precisely what we want to do, okay? Very precisely of what we want to do. Our mission is to organize education resources as a single centralized point, so you don't have to go to different places to search for Coursera or edX or whatever. You just come to here and you will get that. We also want to offer a recommended personalized learning path and provide insightful learning analytics. And we want to deliver the best practice on courses, on material, on product, on service, on software, on hardware related to teaching. That's what we want to do. And lastly, we want to build a platform that will facilitate the innovation development of education software. That's what we want to do. So 4 things right here. I'm going to, so this is UGC funded. All 8 of these are in the project. And here is what we want to do is we want to use Amazon's web services. We talked to Google already. I'm also talking to Microsoft and see what they could help us in terms of the cloud and services, and also their interest in e-learning as well. And these are some of the people we already have a very close tie with. For example, I just came back from a Coursera conference last week, and we've been talking to edX and so on and so forth. Okay, so with that in mind, I'd like to just briefly show you. This is probably the most technical thing you will see. Okay, but this is a 4 components that we have. First is the search engine right here, content. We will crawl our local website, education-related material, and put that on our search engine. Second is we tie with universities' database system, so that we will know who's logging in and also track their behavior and so on and so forth. Third is that we interface with Coursera, with edX, with Udacity, and Moodles, and so on and so forth. So we will run these platforms on our system, okay? So when you access these other learning management system, we will actually get a record. That's at least our hope. And the last thing here is that we encourage innovative educational software to be developed on key platform. We will provide APIs so that we could collect also analytic information when you develop that. Okay, so with that, I'm going to just show you a couple of apps. The first thing is Keep Search. You can see that is almost like a Google search, but it's better. Better in the sense that, it only will provide you with educational resources. It will not give you all sorts of junk, right? And we actually cluster the result in such a way that you could see what are the cluster inside that search, okay? And then we could actually direct you to edX things or Coursera material and so on and so forth. So that's our search engine. We're going to do more, hopefully, in the future. Okay. The Keep course right here is really our course that you could get on to Keep and start a course using one of our farm's tools. So we have Moodle, for example. We have Open Canvas. We have Open edX. And then we also run Google's Course Builder. Okay, so all these things are available on Keep. That you could create a course with that on Keep right now. Okay. The Keep catalog is a way that we want to showcase the best practice in terms of software, hardware, and services. So we will provide you with all these, how do you actually use YouTube inside an education environment? Did you know you could use YouTube very effectively? I know it doesn't happen in China. Okay. But you could do YouTube very nicely, right? How do you use LinkedIn? How do you use all these different products that could facilitate big education? Okay, so we will have this available for you with reviews, with recommendations, and so on and so forth. Oh, I want to just say something about KeyPoll. KeyPoll is a polling software that we have developed. It's on desktop, it's on the mobile phone, and in fact, I just got this this week that we're able to put it on the Apple Watch. Okay, so I'm going to show you that a little bit later. What this is basically, it's a polling system, a survey system that will help to improve student engagement, as well as the teacher will be able to get a quick assessment of their teaching quality. For example, do you know this particular topic, yes or no? We'll give you multiple choices that you can actually do very quickly. So with that, I'm going to just show you this. Is this, let me see. Yeah. So right here is this. This is actually a poll. I asked the question, when would you like to take the programming midterm in my data structure class? Is it Thursday? Is it Thursday, March 19, March 26, or April, whatever? Here is the analytic that, this is the voting has been done. 20 people think this date, 22 people think this date, 25 people would prefer this date, right? So this is just a question. Here is actually a simulated Apple Watch, okay? This is from the Apple simulator. And we are able to push this, and this is very special. We're not pushing to everyone. We're actually working with Apple iBeacon. So when a teacher is sending out this question, it will only send to those people they share the same iBeacon ID. Okay, so I'm not sending out this to everybody in the world. I'm actually doing a location-based service using this. And furthermore, you could do this on the watch. So in one day in the class, there's no more clickers. You don't need to use your phone. You could just look at your watch and tell the teacher whether you like him or not, okay? So vote for me, right? Vote for me, okay. So this is something that we just did a few days ago. So I'm so excited to show you this. Okay, and next thing that I want to share with you is what we call a Keypedia. What is Keypedia? The way I describe it is YouTube meets Wikipedia meets Pinterest. Okay, if you think about that, this is micromoduling YouTube with Wikipedia information. So there is a text that surrounds that particular video. So it's not just a video, 6-minute video, but it will be the prerequisite, the reading material, the quizzes, and so on and so forth associated with that. Right? And then done in a way that is like a Pinterest, that is really interesting. So you combine these three, you have what we call a Keypedia right here. And each one of this is a short video, and then with a related linked data, like a Wikipedia, that could go to different parts of this huge universe right here. Okay, Keypository is something that I think maybe is good for the student. I thought it was good for the student and also for the teacher. This is really, we are trying to create a crowdsourced question base, okay, for teachers and students. You know, we teachers always afraid, oh, we don't want to reveal the question to the students, but that's the way they learn. So why not just give it out to them, right? So if we have a crowdsourced thing right here, we could actually put questions into this repository. I could create a survey, like the Apple Watch survey very quickly, or I could create quizzes or examinations based on the repository. Student will be able to use this repository to play games, okay, to answer questions, and then go to the next question, and so on and so forth, because there are different levels of questions that we could make this interactive, and so on and so forth. So this is the Keypository we're building right now, okay, for that. Lastly, the key apps. So these are some of the apps, and Helen, you're going to give me an app too, right, on a speech assessment thing. But we have VeryGuide app and Easy Scripter app that is sitting on top of on the Key platform, so that they will be collecting also analytic information and send this back to the respective teachers and the university as well. Okay, so this is what we plan to do. There's some work in progress. I said before, learning and education analytics is the next phase. We're going to include lots of game stuff in there. So how do we gamify? How do we make learning interesting, right? So we have the repository here. So we could play a game like a Risk. So when you solve a problem, you increase your territory. when you create an interesting problem, you defend your territory. So you could play this game with this keypository, okay? And that's what we want to build. We want to do more on social collaborative things so that peer learning and peer assessment can be done very easily and efficiently and precisely. Because right now it is not there yet. We also want to go into the mobile and the wearable education technologies, like what we talk about using watch and other things. Okay, so these are some of the up and coming. My background is in machine learning and natural language processing and information retrieval. So we hope to actually include, for example, text semantic analysis, sentiment analysis, question and answer, a better question and answer system inside the Keep. We also want to do recommendation for personalized learning path, career, planning, and so on and so forth, okay? And knowledge map, don't worry about this. And then powerful search engine, we want to do this. We want to be able to actually search for notes, equations, videos, and so on and so forth, okay? And algorithm technology, this is where I live. This is my universe. So it's machine learning, data analytics, social computing, web intelligence, and multimedia information processing. So we hope to really use what we have done in the research and apply this in education in a big way, okay? So that's why they call it a big data on Keep, okay? So I hope that you guys will get involved. So feel free to contact me. And last but not least, I end with this. It says this, do you know what clouds are made out of? You say, sure, music files, right? But I hope one day the question will be, do you know what Keep Education Cloud is made out of? And then you'll answer, sure, a fantastic search engine, organized education resources, insightful analytics, and innovative apps, and a lot more, okay? So I end with that, and I thank the team here and all the collaborator, co-I, and advisor, and my co-PI here. I thank them for this wonderful project that I'm able to actually be involved with. And that's it. That's all I have. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor King. We are honored to have Professor Victor Xu, Delta Electronics Professor of Electrical Engineering and Computer Science, MIT CSEL, as our last speaker. Professor Xu has spent more than 3 decades at MIT. He studied and codified the acoustic magnification of speech sounds in American English and the subsequent application of this knowledge in the development of spoken dialogue interface to make human-computer interactions easier and more natural. After a 10-year hiatus serving various stewardship positions at MIT, he has returned to teaching and research in 2011. His current research interests are in the area of applying human language technologies to enable easy access of structured and unstructured information from the web, especially in online education. Professor Xu is a fellow of the Acoustical Society of America and a fellow of the International Speech Communication Association. He is also a member of the U.S. National Academy of Engineering and a commendation of the Commendator Seneca in Taiwan. He received the Okawa Prize in 2012 and the IEEE James L. Flanagan Speech and Audio Processing Award in 2013. The title of his talk is Using Human Language Technology to Improve MOOC Learning. Professor Xu, please. Thank you.